Lauren Wendy Sánchez was not born into the billion-dollar lifestyle she now commands. She was born in 1969 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, to a working-class Mexican-American family. Her father was a flight instructor, her mother a city clerk. No Hollywood, no Wall Street, no fortune, just an ordinary home with ordinary struggles. Yet from an early age, Lauren stood out in ways that could not be measured by money in high school. She was voted biggest flirt, not because she was reckless, but because she knew how to command attention. She dated the athletes, hung out with the popular crowd, and carried a glow that drew people in. Despite struggling with dyslexia, she found ways to shine. Her drama teacher once said she had the rare gift of walking into a room and making everyone feel important. That charm was more than personality. It was power, and Lauren seemed to understand that power could take her places after graduation. She left Albuquerque behind and moved to Los Angeles to study communications. At the University of Southern California, it was here that her life shifted from small-town beginnings to the bright lights of opportunity. She met Rory Marcus, the well-known voice of the Los Angeles Angels, 20 years older, connected, established, and financially secure. He was her first serious step into a world of influence. They became engaged, but not long after graduation, she ended it. The relationship faded, yet it gave Lauren her first glimpse into how proximity to power could reshape. Her future years later, Rory passed away, never knowing how high Lauren would climb, or whether he had simply been a stepping stone in a bigger plan. Her next chapter brought her to NFL wide receiver Anthony Miller of the Denver Broncos, handsome, wealthy, famous. They dated for 4 years, nearly married. Lauren was with him at games, galas, and red carpets, watching, learning, building her own network. But when the relationship ended in scandal with accusations of infidelity, the media began whispering. Was she really in it for love? Or was she always calculating leverage? That question would linger over her name for decades. She was next linked to Lakers star Derek Fisher, though never officially confirmed. Paparazzi shots of courtside seats, dinners in Beverly Hills and Hollywood. After parties suggested she was no longer an outsider, she was now a fixture in celebrity circles. She was moving from the audience to the stage, and with every step, she was rising higher. After the whispers around Derek Fisher, Lauren's visibility in the Hollywood sports and entertainment scene grew stronger. She was no longer simply a girlfriend of someone famous. She was slowly becoming part of the fabric of that world. Cameras caught her smile. Photographers captured her presence. She seemed to know how to position herself exactly where the spotlight would fall. And while some people fade once a relationship ends, Lauren kept moving forward like a current that refused to stop flowing. Soon, she was seen with NFL legend Tony Gonzalez. Their connection was undeniable, and in 2001, it resulted in the birth of her son, Nico. This was a turning point for Lauren. Motherhood shifted how the world looked at her. She was not only the partner of a star, but also the mother of his child, a permanent link that carried both respect and visibility. The romance itself faded, but the bond through their child remained, and Lauren secured a lasting presence in circles of influence. She was not just dating, she was building permanence. With every relationship, she added another layer to her public identity. She learned what it meant to stand beside power, but also what it meant to create her own. Then came another relationship that placed her directly in front of cameras. Once again, Henry Simmons, the actor best known for NYPD Blue, tall, charismatic, and a fixture on television. His red carpet appearances were frequent, and with Lauren by his side, she was photographed, interviewed, and talked about more than ever. She was refining her image no longer just as someone connected to men in the spotlight, but as a woman who was herself a recognizable figure. These years were critical for Lauren because she was beginning to cultivate a career that was not entirely dependent on who she was dating. She pursued work as a reporter and television personality. She showed ambition beyond social climbing, and her efforts paid off. She earned an Emmy for her reporting work, proving she was more than just a presence. She was a professional who could hold her own on screen and in front of a microphone. The Emmy win legitimized her career in journalism and positioned her not only as a celebrity-adjacent figure, but as a woman with credentials. Lauren had figured out that to climb higher, she needed more than relationships. She needed her own achievements, and she found them. But still, she was drawn to the orbits of powerful men, and her most significant step into Hollywood's inner sanctum came when she met Patrick Whitesell, co-CEO of William Morris Endeavor, one of the most powerful talent agencies in the world. If Hollywood had a backbone, Whitesell's company was part of it, representing stars shaping careers influencing what audiences saw on screen. Patrick was not just wealthy. He was deeply connected and at the top of his game. Marrying him was like securing a front row seat at the very heart of Hollywood. Lauren and Patrick wed in a lavish ceremony that cost over $2 million and drew a guest list of Hollywood's elite. Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Hugh Jackman, and countless others celebrated with them. The scale of the wedding alone demonstrated Patrick's standing in the industry and Lauren's arrival as one of its most visible power wives together. They had 2 children and built a life of unimaginable access. Mansions, private jets, Hollywood parties. Lauren was no longer climbing. She had reached a summit, but for someone like Lauren, the climb never truly stops. And as she enjoyed the privileges of her new life, she also began to cultivate interests that pointed toward her next transformation. One of those was aviation. She earned her pilot's license and later founded Black Ops Aviation, the first female-owned aerial film and production company in the United States. This was a bold move. Lauren was no longer just adjacent to power. She was building enterprises in fields traditionally dominated by men, and this passion would become the bridge to her future because, through aviation, she would meet a man who would change the course of her life forever. Jeff Bezos. But before that moment, Lauren's marriage to Patrick Whitesell was not without its complexities. The Hollywood power world is one of appearances, networks, and deals, and Lauren had to balance being a wife, mother, and independent professional, while also navigating constant public scrutiny. Her image was polished, yet the tabloids never stopped speculating about her motives. Some called her ambitious, others strategic. Some admired her hustle. Others whispered she was always calculating. The truth Lauren was mastering the art of positioning, timing, and leverage. Every step was measured. Every exit was precise. And while her marriage to Patrick seemed unshakable from the outside, there were cracks forming behind closed doors. Still together, they hosted events, they mingled with global stars, they projected success. But Lauren's path was already preparing to intersect with a man who was not just powerful in Hollywood, but powerful across the entire world. Jeff Bezos. The connection was subtle at first. A meeting at a party hosted by Patrick in 2016, Jeff was already the richest man on the planet. The founder of Amazon, the visionary behind Blue Origin, a figure whose name was synonymous with wealth and innovation. Lauren met him not as a starstruck outsider, but as a confident, established woman in her own right. She had her aviation company. She had her career. She had her network. The spark was professional. At first, Bezos was intrigued by her work in aviation and eventually hired her to shoot aerial footage for Blue Origin projects. This gave them a reason to communicate, to spend time together, to bond over flying helicopters, to discuss ambition, and to connect on levels that were private, away from the cameras and away from Hollywood. Glitz. Lauren helped Bezos overcome his fear of helicopters, and soon the two were flying together above Los Angeles, Seattle, Texas, places where the skies offered privacy and intimacy. In a world where both were constantly being watched, it was here in the air above cities that their relationship shifted from professional to personal. The flights were symbolic. They were rising above everything familiar, above suspicion, above ordinary boundaries. But their romance was not without risks. Both were married. Bezos to Mackenzie Scott, Lauren to Patrick Whitesell. Neither could afford scandal, neither could risk reckless exposure, so they plotted quietly, carefully, almost surgically. Lauren coordinated her divorce filings to align seamlessly with Bezos' own split. There was no overlap, no public scandal, no legal mess. It was a clean move orchestrated with precision. One day, after Bezos finalized his divorce, Lauren filed hers. The timing was exact, the plan airtight. Yet despite their secrecy, the relationship could not stay hidden forever. In early 2019, the National Enquirer published leaked text, messages, and intimate photos between Lauren and Jeff. The world was stunned. The richest man alive caught in a scandalous affair. But for Lauren, the betrayal cut deeper than public headlines because the leaks appeared to come from within her own circle. Her brother, Michael Sánchez, once her manager and confidant, was accused of selling the private materials for $200,000. He denied involvement in the worst leaks, but the trust between them was destroyed. Lauren called it a betrayal she could never forgive. Their mother sided with Michael. The family fractured beyond repair. Lauren's pursuit of power and love had cost her not just privacy, but her own roots. Yet through the storm, she stood firm beside Bezos. The scandal could have destroyed her. Instead, It elevated her name to global recognition. She was no longer the ambitious reporter or Hollywood power wife. She was the partner of Jeff Bezos, and together, they weathered the storm. The leaked messages were not just gossip fodder. They were dynamite, the kind of explosive scandal that could have reduced even the most powerful man in the world to dust. Yet somehow, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez not only survived the headlines, but seemed to grow stronger from them. The National Enquirer dropped texts so intimate, so personal, that the public could not look away. Phrases like, "I want to breathe you in," "I want to hold you tight," "I am in love with you," filled magazine covers and online feeds for weeks. For many, this was the first time they had even heard of Lauren Sánchez. But in an instant, she became a household name, a woman whose face was suddenly tied to the richest man alive. But the question was, how did such private details leak, and who would dare to expose them? Fingers pointed in every direction, and the theories were plentiful. The first and most painful was her own brother, Michael Sánchez. Michael had been Lauren's manager, her confidant, her protector, for years. He had guided her through Hollywood's maze, worked the phones, made introductions, defended her reputation. But when the scandal erupted, reports surfaced that he had sold private information to the Enquirer for a six-figure payout. Michael denied leaking the most explicit materials, claiming he had only been involved with releasing softer content in a misguided attempt to control the narrative. But the damage was done. Lauren cut him off publicly and permanently in court documents. She called it a betrayal beyond forgiveness. Their mother stood by Michael, widening the family fracture, and Lauren found herself estranged from the very people who had raised her. The price of standing beside Bezos was not just privacy, it was family. It was roots. It was blood ties severed by mistrust and money. Yet even as the family drama played out, another theory surfaced, one that reached beyond Hollywood tabloids and into the geopolitical stratosphere. Security experts claimed Bezos himself had been hacked by none other than Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The allegation was almost surreal. A WhatsApp message sent to Bezos allegedly contained malware that infiltrated his phone. The timing was suspicious. The Washington Post, owned by Bezos, had been relentlessly reporting on the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, a critic of the Saudi regime. Could it be that the Crown Prince himself had targeted Bezos and that Lauren had been caught in the crossfire? Suddenly, the affair was no longer just celebrity scandal. It was international intrigue. Some argued that Lauren was merely collateral damage. Others speculated that her close relationship with Bezos made her a target in her own right. The story grew more tangled, more mysterious, more dangerous. Because if the Saudi hack theory was true, then Lauren had not only captured the heart of the world's richest man, she had walked straight into the world of intelligence espionage and state-level retaliation. But there was yet another possibility, one that hit closer to home. Whispers circulated that Patrick Whitesell, Lauren's estranged husband, had his own reasons to protect his company's image from scandal. William Morris Endeavor was preparing for a public offering at the time, and a salacious affair between his wife and the most famous billionaire on Earth could have cast a long shadow over business deals. Insiders speculated that someone close to Patrick may have had incentive to ensure the story broke on their terms, controlling the timing before it could spin into uncontrollable damage. Whether or not Patrick himself had a hand in it remains unproven. But in Hollywood, timing is everything, and the leak happened at the precise moment when it could change the narrative for everyone involved. Another angle suggested that Michael Sánchez may have struck a deal gone sideways, selling partial information to the Enquirer, only to find that the outlet had far more than he bargained. For whatever the truth, the only certainty was that Lauren's life was no longer private. Every text, every smile, every whisper was dissected by the public and the press. Still, through all of this, Lauren stood by Jeff, and Jeff stood by Lauren. Their bond seemed to strengthen under fire while the world speculated. Mocked and judged, the two kept appearing together more openly. No longer hiding, no longer disguising the relationship, Jeff filed a lawsuit against the Enquirer, accusing the tabloid of blackmail and extortion. He alleged they had threatened to release even more damaging content unless he dropped his investigation into how the leaks had occurred rather than fold. He went public exposing the threats, and in doing so, he reframed the scandal not as a billionaire caught cheating, but as a billionaire fighting corruption. Lauren, by his side, was no longer seen only as a mistress. She became part of a larger story of defiance against media intimidation. It was a masterstroke, of narrative control, and for Lauren, it meant survival in the harshest spotlight imaginable. But survival came at a cost. Her relationship with her brother was shattered, her connection with her mother severed. The Sánchez family was no longer united, and Lauren carried the image of a woman who had traded her roots for her rise to power. The headlines painted her as a gold digger, a social climber, a seductress. Some went further, calling her manipulative, but others saw something different, a tactician, who understood timing, image, and survival in ways few others could. She had leveraged relationships, yes, but she had also built careers, launched companies, won Emmys. She was not simply a passenger in this ride. She was a driver steering the course. And while critics attacked her character, they could not deny her resilience. Every move that should have ended her seemed to elevate her instead. And then came the next chapter, the wedding, the culmination of one of the most controversial romances. In modern history, whispers about when and where the couple would wed had circulated for months. Some believed they would choose a private island. Others predicted a quiet ceremony hidden from public eyes. But Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez did not hide. They celebrated their love with a spectacle worthy of their place in the world. The location, Venice, Italy. The guest list, royalty, billionaires, celebrities, politicians, 400 of the most influential people on the planet gathered for what many described as the wedding of the decade. Reports placed the cost at nearly $500 million, a staggering figure even for the richest man in the world. Gondolas carried guests across shimmering canals. Opera singers serenaded the crowd. Firework displays lit the Venetian sky. It was a fantasy transformed into reality. But amid the opulence, the absence was striking. Lauren's mother was not there. Her brother was not there. The family that had been with her at the start of her journey was missing, replaced by the global elite. The price of her rise was visible in every empty seat reserved for relatives who would never attend. She had gained the world but lost her blood. And that paradox defined the story of Lauren Sánchez. The Venice wedding cemented her status. She was no longer just a companion or a controversial partner. She was Mrs. Jeff Bezos, standing beside a man whose fortune exceeded $200 billion. She had risen from the daughter of a flight instructor in Albuquerque to one of the most powerful women in America, her face now photographed on yachts with global leaders, her voice now amplified in philanthropic endeavors, her presence now tied not only to Hollywood, but to the world stage. The girl, once voted biggest flirt, was now seated at the table of power. Her journey was a roadmap of ambition, timing, charm, and ruthless resilience. Whether seen as a love story or a calculation, it was undeniable that she had written her own script and forced the world to watch. After Venice, the world thought Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sánchez would disappear into quiet luxury. Instead, they went louder. Every yacht trip, gala, and red carpet appearance became a declaration of power. Lauren crossed into a new orbit, not Hollywood, but geopolitics. She sat beside Bezos at climate summits, state dinners, and royal gatherings. Suddenly, she wasn't just his partner, she was part of the brand. Where Bezos was stiff, Lauren was radiant. She smoothed conversations, turned photo ops into viral moments, and taught the richest man alive how to look human. But was it love or strategy? To some, their bond is genuine, rooted in ambition and devotion. To others, Lauren simply reached the summit of her climb, planting her flag on the world's final mountain. The $500 million yacht wasn't just excess, it was diplomacy. Deals whispered, alliances formed. Every image of Lauren in a flowing gown sent a message. She had arrived. But critics never forgot the leaked texts, the family fractures, the whispers of calculation. Lauren became polarizing, admired, attacked, dissected. She didn't answer back. She rewrote her story through philanthropy, causes, and carefully curated appearances. Yet the cost was real. Estranged family, lost privacy, a life under the microscope. She gained the world, but lost her foundation. Still, she climbed. From Albuquerque's biggest flirt to the wife of the richest man alive, Lauren Sánchez turned ambition into fuel, controversy into relevance. Love story, master plan, or both? Whatever the truth, she secured her place in history, not just as Bezos' wife, but as a woman who never stopped climbing. And if you've been captivated by her ascent, subscribe to Cinematic Sins. because the climb never ends, and neither do the secrets.
This video covers legal allegations in a news context. All claims are from official filings and no guilt is implied until proven in court, please. Keep all discussions respectful. Allegations are not facts until proven in court.